Okay, this is Wednesday night's homework, the questions 1 through 6. All right, so for question number 1 is all about increasing and decreasing, so that's the first derivative. Set it equal to 0. Okay, x squared equals -4, that's impossible, which means that there are no critical points, so this will make our life easier. So here's the derivative, we could pick any point we want and put it on there. And so if we choose y prime of, let's say, 0, we're going to get a positive number. And therefore, this function is always increasing. So that would be choice B, increasing for all real values of x. Okay, number 2. We were given the original function. And again, this is about increasing and decreasing, so we're going to find the derivative. Set that equal to 0. And we're going to get plus or minus radical 2. Okay, so let's see. So why don't we try -2, and we're plugging into here. So we would get 3 times 4 minus 6. 12 minus 6 is positive. If we do y prime of 0, we're going to get -6. That's negative. And then we can try y prime of 2. We'll get 3 times 4 minus 6, and that is positive. So the question is asking for increasing and decreasing. Okay, so let's see. A says it's increasing for x greater than radical 2. Okay, that's true. And it's decreasing when x is less than radical 2. Okay, that's not true because we have a positive sign right here. Okay, so A can't be the answer. B says it's always increasing. That's not true. For C, says it's increasing if x is greater than radical 2. That's this one here. And decreasing when x is less than radical 2. That's not true. We have positive. Okay, D says that it's decreasing for all values such that x is greater than radical 2. That's not true. Wait a minute, something's not right here. Let's go through these again. Let's make sure we didn't make a mistake. So y, 3x squared minus 6, let's just do this again, equals 0. 3x squared equals 6, x squared equals 2. Yeah. Okay, so that part's right. Let's just check our values again, unless we're reading the question wrong. So y prime of -2 is 3 times 4 minus 6. That's positive. Y prime of 0 is -6. That's negative. And y prime of 2 is 12 minus 6. Positive. Okay, let's look at the choices again. Alright, so we have choices A, B, C, D, and E. Okay, well we can immediately eliminate B because that says it's always increasing, so take that out. And we can take out E because that says it's always decreasing, so let's go back. It's increasing if x is greater than radical 2. That is definitely true. And it's decreasing for all values when x is less than radical 2. Okay, that is not true. So we're taking A out. Okay, C, it's increasing if x is greater than radical 2. That's true. And it's decreasing. Wait a second, I'm looking at this now, and A and C looks to be exactly the same. Increasing if x is greater. Oh, there's an absolute value sign. Sorry, I missed that before. Okay, so for C, it's saying increasing for all values such that the absolute value of x Oh my goodness. Okay. So I think this would be a little bit easier if we just write what's happening here. So we can see that we're increasing from negative infinity to negative radical 2. And we are increasing from radical 2 to infinity. I'm going to make some room here. And we are decreasing from negative radical 2 to positive radical 2. Okay, so we agree. Okay, so it's got, all right, so sorry, I should put back my A, B, C, D, and E here. So we immediately eliminated B and E. And then we said that it's A can't be. So it's between C and D. So the difference between C and D says it's increasing for all values such that if the absolute value of x is greater than radical 2. So if it's greater than radical 2, it is definitely increasing. And D says that it's decreasing. So therefore, it has to be choice C. So I was looking at this part here, but it doesn't matter because it's absolute value. Okay, let's go to number 3. Okay, so they gave you the derivative. What a mess. And when is this function increasing? So immediately I am already worrying about x equals 1 because I know it's undefined at x equals 1. Okay, so we have to take the derivative and set it equal to 0. Well, they gave us the derivative. We set that equal to 0. Cross multiply. And I'm going to get x cubed minus x squared equals 0. Okay, take the square root of both sides, put it over here, and I'm left with x cubed minus x equals 0. Factor out an x, and I get x equals 0, and I get x squared equals 1. So you take the square root of both sides, and you're going to x equals plus or minus the square root of 1, but that's equal to 1. Okay, so we already had x equals 1 anyhow up here on our list of things to watch out for. So it's actually plus or minus 1, and then we have, oh, what a mess, let me fix this. So we have x equals plus or minus 1, and x equals 0. Okay, let's get rid of this mess, make some room, and we'll make our wiggle graph. Okay, here's the wiggle graph. So we have negative 1, 0, and 1. All right, and we have to put numbers in there. So if we do f prime of negative 2, no matter what we do on the numerator, it's always going to be positive because it's being squared. So we only really care about the bottom. So 1 minus a minus 2 will be a positive. Positive over positive is positive. Okay, f prime of negative 1/2. So we know the top is positive, and on the bottom, we're going to get 1 minus a minus 1/2. So we're going to have a positive over positive, which is positive.
Jojo.
Sorry, I apologize. That's my stupid husband. And I told him I'm making a video. Okay, f prime of 1/2. So the top is positive, and the bottom is going to be 1 minus 1/2. So that's going to be positive over positive, which is positive. And then the last one we have to do is f prime of 2, and so we're going to get a positive over 1 minus 2, which would be a positive over a negative, which is, whoops, what happened there? Which is a negative. Okay, so we're interested in when is this function increasing. So it's increasing from negative infinity until it gets to 1. Okay, so basically if x is less than 1, so that is choice D. Let's go to number 4. Okay, they gave us the original function. When is this increasing? So we're going to do a quotient rule. So it's the bottom times the derivative of the top minus the top times the derivative of the bottom, all over the bottom squared. Okay, that's going to be annoying, but we're going to simplify. So we get 2x squared minus, and then let's distribute this, 4x squared minus 6x over x to the fourth, and then we'll distribute this negative. So 2x squared minus 4x squared plus 6x over x to the fourth. Okay, and then we can combine like terms. So 2x squared minus 4x squared is a negative 2x squared. Okay, so that's our derivative, and we're going to set that equal to 0. It's a lot of work. All right, cross multiply, and we're going to get that negative 2x squared plus 6x equals 0. We could factor out a 2 and an x. So we're going to have negative x plus 3 equals 0. Okay, so we get x equals 0, and we're going to get that x equals 3. Here's our wiggle graph. This was our second derivative right here. Okay, so if we do f prime of negative 1, we're going to get negative 2 minus 6 over a positive, because it's to the fourth power. Doesn't matter. So a negative over a positive is negative. Okay, then we can do f prime of 1, which will give us negative 2 plus 6 over a positive. So positive over positive is positive. And then we'll do f prime of 4, and that will give us a negative 2 times 16 plus 24 over a positive. So negative 32 plus 24 is a negative over a positive, which is a negative. And the question is asking, when is it increasing? So it's increasing from 0 to 3, and that is choice C. Can we get now? Number 5. Here's the original. And this is about decreasing, so we need the first derivative. Set it equal to 0. Factor out an 8x. So we're going to get x equals 0. Okay, and then we're going to get an x squared equals negative 1. That's impossible, so don't worry about that. And just want to go back for 1 second to that last problem. Did we have 0 on there? Yeah, because it was undefined when x equals 0. How about for number 3? Yeah, we had 1 on there. Okay, sorry, I just want to double check. Okay, so x equals 0. We're plugging into the first derivative. Here it is. Okay, so f prime of negative 1 will be negative 8 minus 8, that's negative. And f prime of 1 will just be 8 plus 8, that's positive. Let's make some room. So the question is asking, when is this decreasing? And it's decreasing from negative infinity until it gets to 0. And so that is choice D. And finally, oh my god, I'm so sick of making these. Okay, we have number 6. So we have this graph that looks something like this. Okay. And when this is the derivative graph, f prime of x. Okay, so before I even look at the question, so as not to confuse you, here's what I know. The derivative, so f prime is positive. That means it's above the x-axis from negative 2 until it gets to 0. And then f prime is less than 0, meaning this whole graph here is below the x-axis from 0 until 3. Okay, so remember, if the derivative is positive, that means the function is increasing. So that means it's increasing from -2 to 0. If the derivative is negative, that means that the function is decreasing. So the question is asking, where is this function decreasing? So it would have to be from 0 to 3, and that is choice E. So it's a little bit easier for that type of question to just write everything you know about the graph and then look for the answer. Okay, so that finishes that sheet.